Solo leveling teaser has dropped and fans are hyped up. Finally, after many years, this manhwa is getting a much needed anime. But we have to wait another year for that, so until then, we hope this video can fill that void. We're bringing you our list of all Monarchs ranked. In the solo leveling universe, the Monarchs are an ancient race of monsters who seek to wipe out the human race, and they serve as the primary antagonists. So we decided to rank these Monarchs according to their powers and skills. So let's get started, but before that, spoiler warning, as we have talked about them in detail, few spoilers may slip out. Let's begin. History of the Monarchs. At the dawn of time, when light and darkness was all that existed, the Absolute Being split the light to create the rulers and split the darkness to create the Monarchs. As the Monarchs were born to destroy the world, the rulers born to protect it, as they were destined to fight one another. Watching both sides kill each other was its only source of entertainment. Infuriated with this, every ruler tried to overthrow the Absolute Being. The only ruler who remained loyal to Absolute was Ashborn, aka the greatest fragment of light, ended up fatally wounded. But the Absolute Being had one last trick up his sleeve. He had hidden power inside of his last loyal follower. On the brink of death, the ruler was reborn into the 9th monarch, the Shadow Monarch. Out of light came the birth of a new darkness. Unfortunately for Ashborn, even though he managed to stabilize the power balance and keep the war going, his overwhelming powers earned him great fear from both sides and eventually led two monarchs to betray him and ambush him with their armies. Although Ashborn easily defeated both monarchs and killed Baron in retaliation for his treachery, his shadow army was nearly annihilated. Deciding to seek revenge against the Beast Monarch, Ashborn went into hiding to revive his army, allowing the rulers to finally win the war and forcing the Monarchs to escape into the cracks of Between Worlds. Centuries later, the Monarchs tried to vanquish the human world in order to rebuild their armies, and the rulers attempted to stop them to save the human race from certain extinction. When their efforts failed, the rulers used a tool created by the Absolute Being called the Cup of Reincarnation, which had the power to turn back time 10 years each time they used it, in order to give them a second chance. Unfortunately, this only prolonged what seemed to be inevitable, as the human world would always be destroyed regardless of which side won the war, and regardless of how many times the rulers turned back time. Now let's get to know all the Monarchs. Querishia. She's the Monarch of Plagues and is the Queen of Insects, and is one of the strongest characters in solo leveling. However, she is also one of the weakest Monarchs. In the Monarchs War arc, where she, the Monarchs of Frost, and the Monarch of Beastly Fangs battled against Sung Jin Woo, she morphed using Spiritual Body Manifestation. Being able to use Spiritual Body Manifestation signifies her unquestionable strength, but unfortunately it wasn't strong enough to conquer Sung Jin Woo, who killed her. She was a bloodthirsty individual who lived to kill and savored every opportunity she got to slaughter her prey. However, she also had a motherly disposition towards her minions and regarded them as her children, as displayed by her positive demeanor towards Biru. Demon King Baron. He is the Monarch of White Flames and was the final villain boss for Sung Jin Woo to eliminate as he reached the 100th floor of his solo mission. Initially, Baron fought alongside the Shadow Monarch and the Beast Monarch against the rulers. The Monarch butchered countless soldiers of the rulers, but after that, he turned his back on Ashborn. Of course, Ashborn was too mighty for Baron to handle alone, so he was killed. Later, Baron was created by the Architect, and not by the Absolute Being. He wasn't in any way weak. In fact, he gave Sung Jin Woo a hard time during their battle since he was stronger than Jin Woo at the time. Regardless, Sung Jin Woo won the battle by leveraging on his battle wits. The moment Baron got distracted for a bit, Sung Jin Woo used that opportunity to kill Baron and claim his wyvern ride, Kaisel, as his trophy. The Monarch of the Iron Body. He is the king of monstrous humanoids and is one of the strongest characters in solo leveling. He is introduced to us in the Japanese Crisis arc, where he and the Beast Monarch killed Chris, the third strongest hunter in the United States, and mutilated his corpse. This Monarch is among the few characters that can use Erasure, an ability that wipes one's very existence from the universe. Despite possessing great strength, he tried dissuading the Frost Monarch from attacking Sung Jin Woo, the Shadow Monarch, due to his powerful abilities. In the manhwa, he possessed the Spiritual Body Manifestation ability, which allows him to morph into a monstrous-looking golem. He then tried to use his manifestation ability to overpower Bear, Thomas, and Bellion. However, he failed and was defeated by the trio. While it's true that Iron Body was nowhere close to other Monarchs in terms of skill, he was still one of the most powerful and ruthless characters in solo leveling. He had incredible physical strength and telepathic ability that allowed him to communicate with his allies during battles. Monarch of the Beginning. Legia, also referred to as the King of Giants, one of this character's strong points is his immense physical strength. At some point in the manhwa, despite being restrained, he still managed to prove his extraordinary strength. He makes up for his lack of vital mana with his wind pressure ability, which allows him to create and manipulate wind pressure. He also possesses spellcasting abilities that grant him the power to obtain the truth from his adversaries. It wasn't possible to lie to him. After the Absolute Being's death, Legia spent several years in captivity. Legia was unlike any other monarch as he was a spiritual being with no physical body, and the rulers had to contain him with mana-absorbing chains. Rulers realized that Legia was immensely powerful, and it would be a waste if they didn't use the monarch's power to their advantage. Rulers finally unleashed Legia on the human world where Jin Woo confronted him. Legia proved his prowess by manipulating wind pressure and demonstrating his truth inductment ability. Fortunately, Jin Woo was too powerful at the time, so he decapitated Legia with only one attack. The Monarch of the Beastly Fangs. The Monarch of the Beastly Fangs, aka the King of Beasts, is among the strongest of the powerful monarchs. His true strength was shown during his battle against Thomas Andre, USA's strongest hunter, where he managed to overpower him despite holding back. In the manhwa, his presence alone was enough to strike fear in the hearts of powerful hunters. His main abilities are centered on his strength, so he barely uses any mana-based attacks. Despite his powerful strength, he's a coward that flees when he encounters a stronger enemy. This was shown when he joined Frost Monarch and Querashera in the mission to end Jin Woo. He and the Frost Monarch overpowered Jin Woo in the fight and almost killed him. However, their actions led up to the moment where Jin Woo took control of Ashbourne's power completely. The Shadow Monarch's resurrection was enough reason for the Beast Monarch to escape through one of the portals. However, Jin Woo caught up with the Beast and ended his life in just 4 strikes. The Monarch of Frost. The Monarch of Frost is another powerful monarch among the upper ranks in terms of power. His abilities mostly rely on creation of ice-based weapons such as ice arrows and spears, even golems to do his bidding. He also possesses the ability to freeze other powerful beings, encased them in solid ice, which is created at sub-zero temperatures. Unlike the Beast Monarch, he stood his ground after Ashbourne's awakening. He wanted to kill Jin Woo before he could learn the true potential of Ashbourne's powers. However, Sungwon, one of the ruler's vessels, tried stopping the Frost Monarch, but the King of the Snowfolk pushed the human back with his ice magic. It was his strength that pushed Jin Woo beyond his limits. Also, it was his effort that allowed the beast to stab Jin Woo from behind. But it was that very moment that led to his demise. The Monarch of Destruction. Antares is true to his title as a harbinger of destruction and chaos. As the King of Dragons, his spiritual manifestation ability allows him to transform into a monstrous red dragon that surpasses even Kamish. One of his abilities is Dragon's Fear, which stirs up fear into his opponents that are not as powerful as him. The Monarch of Destruction was Sun Jin Woo's final opponent in solo leveling, and he managed to fight evenly with Jin Woo. Antares' Breath of Destruction is another powerful ability that completely erases his opponent. Antares was so strong that no mortal could become his vessel. After learning about Jin Woo, Antares finally arrived in the human world with his massive army. He instantly destroyed Canada with the Breath of Destruction and killed millions to bring Jin Woo out. The Monarch's army was enough to turn several S-class hunters to ashes. Antares was almost invulnerable during the fight and deflected Jin Woo's most deadly attacks. Jin Woo had to take the ruler's help to bring down the strongest monarch. Jin Woo defeated him again after using the Cup of Reincarnation in order to restore the Earth that Antares had previously destroyed. The Monarch of Shadow. The Monarch of Shadow, aka Ashbourne, has a very interesting storyline. Initially, he was among the 7 rulers and was known as the greatest fragment of brilliant light. However, he remained loyal to Absolute Being and became the Monarch of Shadow. Using his ruler ability, he transfers this power to others, which he does to Sung Jin Woo. However, his Monarch abilities mainly consist of shadow extraction, and he can strengthen his shadow minions. Ashbourne was the only monarch who fought at the behest of the Absolute Being until the very end. He was so mighty that both rulers and monarchs feared him. Ashborn alone commanded the army of millions and could have easily turned the battle in the monarch's favor. But when Beast and Baron turned against him, he left the battlefield, which allowed the rulers to devastate the monarchs. Sung Jin-woo. Sung Jin-woo is the protagonist and undoubtedly the strongest monarch. Even though he was a mere E-rank hunter at first, he became the Shadow Monarch with millions of soldiers at his command and possessing limitless mana. Sung Jin-woo even possesses time actuality, meaning he transcends the concept of time, making him immortal, and also damage reduction, which reduces any attacks directed at him by 50%. Amongst his many other powerful abilities, he is considerably attacking power, speed, and regeneration. He has not only defeated Antrace twice, but single-handedly overpowered all other monarchs, and even the vessels of the rulers were no match for him. He could perform telekinesis, shadow extraction, regenerative healing, and shadow exchange. He sometimes creates armor by concentrating the energy around his body. Apart from that, he possessed all the other abilities of both the monarchs and the rulers, which clearly made him the strongest monarch and character in the manhwa. Hope you like the list. We'll bring you more of the soul leveling content, so be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. If you have any suggestions for the next video, do let us know in the comments.